Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to create an inventory system in Unreal Engine with C++. So essentially this is the first part of the videos and we're just going to show you what we'll be creating. So if you press E next to an item, you'll pick that item up. This could be anything, it doesn't have to be guns. But then that adds it to your inventory. If you click on that item in the inventory, like I just have, it'll run the code that you've got for that said item. So that this one added help, this is just temporary code. Obviously we don't want to be bothered about what code we're using for the item, it's more about creating the inventory system. You can do that yourselves. But yeah, we just picked up I think it was the AR4. Let's go and find an SMG. Oh, I think there's two over here. Yeah, two there. If you click one of these, it should show added armor. So it's got different code for different items. So that's perfect. Let's go back in. We can also drag and drop items. So if you drag it out there, it'll respawn that item. I'll show you again. Just drag it, and it'll respawn it in the world. So that's perfect. So we've got multiple items. There's 5 different types of weapons we have, and these are just generic items. I couldn't find like a big massive potion pack online. So yeah, but where I found all this stuff, like the icons and stuff, I will show you right now. First off, we got the FPS Weapon Bundle. I'll leave a link in the description, and you can just download this, add it to your project, and you can just use these as items just for now. I'm gonna follow along with the video to understand how I'm doing everything. I've made some PNGs for the images for each item for when you pick them up. I've only done 2 because we've got 3 assault rifles and 2 SMGs. So I'll link this. This is just a Steyr, I can't say that right, AUG icon gun. And we've also got the MP5 icon gun. I will link them both if you want to use them. But if you want to get really good PNGs like this, you can just go to gameicons.net. So yeah, you could just click. When you come to here, just click on here and you've got game icons. You can search anything you want and create. Sometimes they create randomized ones for you, look really cool here. But yeah, so let's jump into the project. Right, to create this project, we're going to be using the third person template with the project default as C++, and the project name is going to call it something small because I'll be retyping it for like the character, the player controller, and everything else in C++. So I'm just going to call it IS, which stands for Inventory System. So let's create that project. Make sure you click the C++ and obviously third person template, and I'll see you in a moment. Perfect, the project has been created. First thing we want to do is create an interface like we always do, but we're only just going to use it for when you press and interact with an item. So go to C++ classes, IS for inventory system, and then right click here, new C++ class, down to the bottom, Unreal interface. Just change this to interact interface, capital I. Now let's create that class. The class has been created, and the first thing we're going to create is a U function. It's going to be blueprint callable blueprint native event, and the function is going to be called void on pressed interact. Need a space between the on pressed interact. That's perfect there. And we're going to pass in 2 parameters, is character, just like that, with a capital C. We need to also forward declare it. Right click, forward declare. We also need to get the player controller, IS player controller, forward declare that, and that's going to be called player controller. They're both pointers. I like calling it just controller to short name actually. So that's perfect. That's interface done. Really easy, really quick. Now we do need to jump into the character and put some code in there. Let's jump into the H. I'm going to duplicate this mouse look action, and this is going to be interact action. I'm going to change that because when you hover over the function, this is the code that will show, so we know what it is, but it's quite self-explanatory to interact. So it's going to be a T object pointer, it's going to be a U import action, and that's going to go in there. Just change the name to interact action. Perfect, got the N on the end. That's the import action done. To click, so you've got the action sorted. Next, we need the begin play, because we haven't got one for some reason on the character. We also need the function to call to interact. So go down to this section, do a U function. I'm just going to copy these actually and just duplicate it. It doesn't need to be virtual, and ours is interact. We need a fancy name because all we're calling is the interact function. I'm just going to right click and create that. Back to the character, need to do begin play as well, right click and create that. Last thing in the character for the minute, we just need the player controller. So I'm going to do a protected section down here, protected there, and it's going to be a U property, and it's going to be T object pointer, it's going to be AIS player controller, and we're going to forward declare that. and it'd be PC for player controller. That's perfect. Now let's jump straight into the CPP. First off, on begin play, we just want to get this player controller. So this player controller, we're going to equal to get controller. We need those little brackets here, AIS player controller, and that'll get the player controller for this class and make it valid. Well, it should do. Anyway, we're going into setup player input components. We need to call the key binding when we press for interact. So this one's going to be interact. An enhanced input action components, bind action. This one's going to be interact action. So this is getting binded when we do it in Unreal Engine. We'll make sure we create the input action, and this function will be called, but this is going to be e-trigger event be completed, because we want to click it once, we don't want to hold it to do it multiple times. And the function recalling is interact. That's perfect, just there. That's the interact function in the setup player input component done. Now we can jump into the code in interact. There's going to be quite a little bit here, because we're going to find the closest item and pick up the closest item on each key press. We don't want to pick up multiple. I want to do one at a time by clicking E, and the closest one to us will get picked up. So inside interact, we want to do if is not valid. So basically, is valid, exclamation at the start, player controller. If it isn't valid, then return. And underneath this code, we want to get a T array of A actor pointers, and this is going to be called overlap actors. Perfect. Then we're going to do get overlapping actors, passing in overlapped actors. Perfect. We also want to make another pointer for actor. So A actor, it's going to be a pointer, and it's going to be closest target, we're going to call it. And we're going to equal this to null. We don't know what the closest one is yet, because we have not run the code. So in the next bit, we want float for closest distance, and we're going to have it equal to float max, so it's the maximum float number we can have, and we'd never exceed that, so that's the highest point in the float can be. So I don't think we'd ever be at that point, so we're always going to be less than that essentially. Now we're going to do a range-based for loop, go through each actor that we've overlapped with, and check if that actor is the actor we want. If it is an actor, then we want to check if it implements the interface. Then we also want to check the distance, if it's to find the closest one, and if it is, we'll call the onPressed interact code for that actor. So I'll run you through it as I do it. So for loop we're going to be doing, and it's going to be a actor of actor with overlapped actors, and first thing we're going to do if is valid, but with an exclamation at the start. So if it's not valid, and this is the actor, what we want to do is continue to the next one. So don't go through the rest of this code, continue and check the next actor. So if it's not an actor, it'll just continue. And then the next code after that, we want to do if not, again, not actor. And now we're checking if it's implementing the interface. So actor, get class, implements interface. And then in here, you want to put interact, and this will be interface. Interact interface static class. So if it doesn't implement that, we want to continue again and go on to the next actor or whatever it's found and check it. Go through all these checks again. And if it is an actor and it does implement the interface, I'm going to run a little bit of code here. So const float distance equals, I'm going to do f vector dist squared, and with the two that we want are get actor location for this, and get actor location, so from the player to the actor we found. Then we check if distance is less than closest distance, we're going to assign that character. So the first one we find is always going to be getting assigned. So closest distance equals distance, and then underneath here, closest target equals actor. So that is the actor, and then underneath, I think it was here, after the for loop. So after it's gone through all this loop and found the closest one, we need to do if is valid closest target, I meant to say. And what we'll do is we'll run that interact interface code, and we'll do execute onPressed interact, passing in the closest target, passing in this, which is the character, and passing in the player controller. Basically, I hope I've explained that well enough. I am trying to get better at elaborating on how I make my systems. So yeah, essentially, if it's not an actor, I could jump out of this and go on to the next actor. And yet if the actor doesn't have the interface, continue and go to the next actor in the for loop that's been found by overlapping actors. If it's past all these, I'm going to get to see if the distance is less than closest distance from the previous one or the max float, and then it'll assign the actor we found to the closest target, and then closest target will be called with execute on press to interact. That's all perfect. Let's jump into Unreal Engine live code and create the input actions. Live coding was complete, perfect. So what we want to do now, create the input actions, go to all content, input, then actions, then right click here, find input action, then name this IA for input action and call this IA_interact. Perfect, that's the interact added there. Go back one, we go to IMC default, which is the input mapping context. Just open on the other screen, sorry, I'll put it over here. And then under the mappings here, add a new one, find your interact, and then I'm going to click this button here, press the key I want, which is going to be E, and that's assigned the E key. That's perfect. Go back to content, find third person, blueprints, then your character. So all the way at the bottom on the right hand side here is your input actions. Assign that input action there, that's perfect. And when we interact with an item when it implements the interface, we can just check some code, do a quick UE log, and it'll show that it's working. It's perfect. Now let's create the interactable items we want. So I'm going to have a base class for this. So go back to all C++ classes, IS, right click here, new class, actor, and call this interactable base. Perfect. So this is the base class that all the items will inherit from. So let's create that class. Perfect, that class has been created. I have deleted all the comments and I've got rid of tick, as you can see. I've also changed primary actor tick to .b can never tick equal to false, so it never ticks. So that's perfect. But the first thing I'm going to do is outside of the class up here in interactable base, I'm going to create an enum for the type of items we have. So we'll do enum, and this will be, I'm going to call it blueprint type at the top as well. An enum is going to be called class of items, I'm going to call it items. Perfect. Let's put these brackets down here. Oh, we forgot to do this here, and there'll be uint8 there, that's perfect. And in here, I'm just going to name the types of items we'll have. I've got them under assault rifle, submachine gun, pistol, sniper rifle, but we only use assault rifle, submachine gun. This is just for obviously testing purposes. If like we have different items we want to add in, you can just add them in here. So what we'll do is do assault rifle. I'm going to do them all in capital letters. Then we're going to have comma, and the next one's going to be submachine gun. Perfect. Comma again, don't forget that. Next one is pistol, comma again, sniper rifle, comma again. That's perfect. So the type of items we have in the interactive base to define what type of, like if you want to add more in, let's say you want, let's say a grenade, add it in here and have a different type, like that's going to be a different item you have. But underneath here we need a struct for the data of of each item. So it's going to be a U struct of blueprint type, and then type in struct here, and this is going to be F item data, or if you're American say data, but data same thing. Generated body we need here, perfect. And then we need a U property of edit anywhere, blueprint read write, no, read write, not read only. I'm just going to copy with Control C. So I'm going to be pasting this quite a lot. The first one could be E items, item type, to auto don't for us. Control V, because I've got that ready. I'm going to do F name. This one's going to be called item name, perfect, it's done for us. Control V. And then next one's going to be int32. We'll have quantity. And we're just going to equal this to 1, because each item should have 1 quantity. Then we're going to Control V again. Then this is going to be int32. And it's going to be max stack size, so how many you can have per slot. So we can only get 3 items per slot. You can change this for each item you have. So let's say one of the submachine guns, I want to have the max stack size of 5. You can change that in its corresponding blueprint. I will show you when we do this. So stack size, and I'm just going to equal it to 3 by default. So it'll all be 3 by default. This is what this is. Last but not least, we need to get a T object pointer. it's going to be U texture 2D, and it's going to be called item icon. It's going to be equal to null pointer for the moment. That's perfect. That's that all set up for the item data and items. Now in the actual class, I'm just going to copy and paste the UScene component, the sphere component, and the static mesh component. So I'm going to put this underneath protected here. It's just here. I do it all the time. You'll probably notice from my videos. You just pause the video and copy and paste. I just don't want to be typing these all out forever. It's just the generic stuff that if you do C++, you understand. And then underneath here, we're just going to do a U property. We're going to have an edit anywhere, blueprint read write category info, the item info, sorry. And this is going to be F item data, and we call this item data. And then under here, we do want to get the on-pressed interact implementation, but we haven't included our interface. So over here, we're going to do public interact interface. There we go. And then down here, we can just start typing pressed. It should come up there, on-pressed interact implementation. So we can just add that in now over there. Right, so in the constructor, I'm just going to copy and paste again, just below there. So we've got the scene component equal to the root component, then the sphere collision equal to the scene component, and item mesh equal to the scene component, sorry. So let's just right click and add these in, include the definitions. But I've set the sphere collision to set radius for the sphere collision to 96 from what I've done from the previous project. I've also done for item mesh set simulate physics to true, and can character step on is no. So if you want to pause the video and just copy and paste these, just the generic stuff. But what we can do here to prove it works in on-pressed interact, I'm just gonna do if is not valid for the player controller, not the player controller, sorry, the character. Apologies about that. Then we need to return out of this. Let me just right click and get the character in this class. Yeah, perfect. And then we're just going to destroy the item just to show it works. So that's perfect. Let's go back into Unreal Engine and check if we can pick up that item. So let's live code. Perfect, live coding was complete. So now what we're going to do is create two more classes. So create a C++ class derived from interactable base. And the first one is going to be called Assault Rifle. And let's create that. What I should have done is put this in a folder. I'm going to do that now for the next one. So that's created. Right click, create C++ class derived from interactable base. It's going to be Submachine Gun. So what we'll do with this one is here, we'll just type in weapons on the path and it will create a folder for us. So weapons, create class. As you can see, Submachine Gun has been added. We can just click on these two, Assault Rifle, and drag them into weapons. And when you reset the Unreal Editor, these will be, one moment, the Assault Rifle will be put inside of the weapons folder here. But you have to restart the Unreal Engine. It only takes like 30 seconds, but I'm just going to leave that for the minute. Back into here, what we want to do is add a begin play. Let's do it in public, just here. Begin play. In protected, I'm going to create as well. We're going to do the on-pressed as well, because we inherit from that class. So let's just copy and paste this for Assault Rifle. Do the same for Submachine Gun. That's them done. We haven't created these classes inside the CPP, so right click, generate definitions. So that's Submachine Gun done. Right clicked already on here. Assault Rifle, let's create them. And what we want to do here, in begin play, we're going to do item data dot item type. We're going to assign it in here, so it's going to equal e items, and the Assault Rifle is going to be assigned to this. The Assault Rifle class will be assigned to e items Assault Rifle class. So copy and paste that, and what we'll do, go to Submachine Gun, and this one's going to be Submachine Gun. So yeah, that's perfect. That's them both done. Above super, because on super we're calling destroy, but let's do a quick UE log. So we're going to do log temp, it'll be. And then we're going to do warning, and then we're going to do it's text with the brackets, and then just here we'll type in, what is it? It's a Submachine Gun, this one. Just to prove we've interacted with it and it's called the code, and it'll also destroy as well. So let's copy and paste that. Go into Assault Rifle. We're doing it super pressed afterwards because that's a destroy from the interactable base. If you want the code for the base to run first, you put it at the top. So yeah, and this one's going to be Assault Rifle, not Assault Rifle Gun. There we go. Go back into Unreal Engine. and the live code dead quick. Live coding was complete. I've also noticed I forgot to add in stuff. So in here, create a new folder. It's going to be called UI because we need the images. And then here, def downloads. I'm just going to drag that there, get them both, change them to UI on texture group and compression settings to be user interface. We need to do that on both. That's Assault Rifle done. Submachine Gun, we need to do UI, user interface there, and texture group UI. That's perfect. We also need to add in the weapons, which I forgot to add in. So if we go to Fab, let's go to Unreal Epic Games Launcher, go to Fab. Actually, I've got it in my library, sorry about that. So Unreal Engine library, and then here, just type in FPS Weapon Bundle because I've got it. So let's add to project, show all projects. I've called it IS just there. It's not compatible, so what we'll do is go to 4.27 and add to project, and that's completely fine. It should literally take a moment. And we should have it in now. FPS Weapon Bundle there, weapons, meshes, and you've got your weapons there. Sorry, I know this was like very last minute just then, but I completely forgot to add them in. Right, so now that all the weapons are in perfectly, what we're going to do is going to create 5 different weapons. I'm going to show you how to do the first 2 for each, one for assault, one for submachine gun, but I'm going to create the rest and speed them up. So get assault rifle, right click, create a blueprint class. We could also add a new folder in content. I'm going to call this weapons, and then inside weapons, create a new folder for assault rifles. Obviously these can be like potions or whatever, it can be anything. I'm just using these as an example, these guns as an example. Machine gun, submachine guns for the next one. So inside of assault rifle, our first weapon is going to be the BP underscore AR4. So inside assault rifles there, that one's been created perfectly, so I'll show you how we're doing it. So in info here, item data, we have quantity, item name, which is not done, AR4. The item icon will be assault rifle. So type in assault rifle, that class. Then the item mesh, we're going to look for the AR4. I think that's the wrong one, it's supposed to be facing the other way. On the X, yes. AR. So I'm doing SM underscore AR4X. That's perfect. Everything else is done in that class. So that's the AR4 done. Now let's go all the way back. C++, weapons, submachine gun we're going to do this time. Create the blueprint class for submachine gun, down into weapons, submachine gun. I'm going to create the KA74U. But it's going to be BP at the start. I always end up forgetting that when I'm creating multiple of these little classes. To create that, that's going to be called the KA74U. KA74U. Item icon can be submachine gun, I think we called it. Yeah. And we could change the stack size, so we could pick up, let's say, 10 of these, and we'll be able to add 10 into the inventory for one slot. Or something, you might want to make something, the quantity size equal to 2, so every time you pick up one it takes up 2 slots. So I mean, not 2 slots, it takes up 2 parts of the quantity, so quantity could be 2 and you can only have a max stack size of 4, but that would be very unrealistic, but it's just to show we're adding 1 to the quantity each time. But anyway, max stack size is 3, that's perfect, and we need to change this to submachine gun. I might have done something wrong in here and not changed submachine gun to some. I thought I did, yes I did there, ignore me. But that's perfect. I'm going to create the other 3 and, oh sorry, I forgot to put the weapon in this one. A74, it'll be on the X. Yeah, just perfect there. So that's the assault rifle and submachine gun done. I'm probably going to cut out the rest now. I'm just going to add them in. See you in a moment. Perfect, I've done that. I'm up for them all now. So you've got the SMG11 created. That's perfect there with the gun in the blueprint. I've also done the KA47 weapon there and put all the corresponding info in the data. Same with the KA val. All the data's in there, perfect. So just let's theoretically drag some into the world. I like to put them a bit higher so they drop onto the floor. Submachine gun. Let's drag them all in. But before they destroy, it should show some code that we what they are, just to say like the code being run. Submachine gun, they still get destroyed. Assault rifle, assault rifle. Am I missing one? This one seems to have no mesh and fall through the floor. Block all dynamic. Are they all on block all dynamic? Give me a moment, I'll just sort this out. I don't know why that one's falling through the floor. The AR4. Right, so I'm back right now. I'm just looking here. So if you go on the item, and then browse to, then click on the static mesh, it'll bring you here. What I have noticed is everything else has a simple collision, but the SMAR4 doesn't. So what we're going to do is just add in a 26 DOP simplified collision, and that'll give it a collision. Let's just make sure it hits the floor now. Let's click play. Yeah, that's perfect. That's hit the floor. Back to output log. Obviously submachine gun should say UE log submachine gun. Assault rifle, submachine gun. That's perfect. So essentially now what we need to do is start with the inventory button and the inventory UI. So we'll have the buttons, I'm going to be calling them, are the icons that come in the inventory UI. We'll be doing that in the next video. That's still quite a bit of code, and hopefully I can get this system done in 3, maybe max 4 videos, but there is a lot of code. So anyway, I'd like to say thank you for watching. If you really did enjoy and want to see the next part of the video, please leave a like, as it does help the channel, and definitely subscribe if you can. It's free to subscribe, so, but it's also your choice. If you don't want to see any more of my videos, don't subscribe. Dislike the video, but yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, and goodbye.